The dawn in Beijing's district on September 11, 2025, didn't bring light. It brought a chilling mystery that would shatter the hearts of millions across the globe. As the city began to stir, a lifeless figure was discovered on the cold pavement beneath a luxury high-rise, ending the journey of a man who seemed to have it all. This wasn't just another celebrity tragedy. It was the final, silent act of a star who spent his life portraying immortals, only to be taken by a brutal earthly reality. The world stared at the headlines in disbelief, searching for answers in the shadow of a 5-story fall that felt impossible. Behind the soft features and the elegant robes of a C-drama prince lay a story of hidden pressures and a night that went horribly, tragically wrong. We begin at the end, at the foot of that building, where the glamour of the spotlight was extinguished by the gravity of a single, tragic moment that remains a scar on the industry. This opening is designed to grip the viewer immediately, posing the ultimate question: how does a man at the peak of his power simply vanish into the night? The atmosphere is thick with tension, setting the stage for a narrative that explores the dark side of the moon. For the US audience, this is the classic Hollywood Babylon tragedy relocated to the East, a story of fame's ultimate price. We look past the makeup and the scripts to find the human being who was lost in the noise of his own success. The silence of that morning still echoes through the streets today. Long before he was an icon of the genre, he was just a boy from Xinjiang with eyes full of starlight and a heart tethered to his family's modest dreams. Growing up in a landscape far removed from the neon lights of Beijing, Alan learned early on that beauty was both a gift and a heavy burden to carry through life. He wasn't born into the elite circles of the entertainment industry. He fought for every inch of ground, fueled by a quiet ambition that many mistook for simple shyness or passivity. His family background provided a foundation of love, but it couldn't shield him from the cutthroat nature of the path he chose to walk alone. Every obstacle he faced in those early years, from financial uncertainty to the grueling auditions of reality television, honed the resilience that would later define his public persona. He was a dreamer fighting against the odds, a young man who believed that talent and a pure heart would be enough to conquer the world's most unforgiving stage. In this segment, we peel back the layers of the superstar to find the vulnerable child who just wanted to make his parents proud. For an American viewer, this is the quintessential underdog story, a relatable journey of a small-town boy making it big in the big city. But as we will see, the city has a way of swallowing its dreamers whole. His early ambition was the fuel that took him to the stars, but it also placed him on a trajectory that he could no longer control once the engines of industry took over his life and soul completely. The path to stardom was never a red carpet for Alan. It was a steep, winding mountain trail where every step was watched by a million critical eyes. His breakthrough didn't happen overnight, but when it arrived, it felt like a celestial alignment that the entire world was forced to acknowledge. From the quirky success of Go Princess Go to the ethereal grace he displayed in Eternal Love, he redefined what it meant to be a leading man in Asian television. Fans across the United States and Europe began to discover the magnetic pull of his understated performances, captivated by a grace that felt like it belonged to another era. The viral success of his roles turned him into more than just an actor. He became a cultural symbol of elegance and traditional beauty in a modern age. However, as the applause grew louder, the man behind the makeup began to realize that the higher you climb, the thinner the air becomes, and the more isolated you truly are. He was no longer just Alan. He was a god in the eyes of his followers, an immortal whose every gesture was analyzed in. This rise to fame was intoxicating, but it came with a hidden contract that demanded his total devotion to the image he had created. For the target audience, this represents the American dream, realized on a global scale, but with a haunting realization that the dream is often a prelude to a nightmare. He had conquered the charts and the screens, but the victory felt hollow in the quiet moments between the scenes, as the pressure to remain perfect became an unbearable weight. By the time he reached the absolute pinnacle of his career, Allen was no longer a person. He was a brand, a multi-million-dollar asset owned by the industry. He was the face of luxury labels and the hero of epic sagas, but the immense pressure of maintaining a perfect image was quietly eroding his inner peace. Behind the breathtaking and the polished interviews, there was a grueling schedule that left no room for the man to breathe or find his own identity. Management demands were relentless, pushing him to perform even when his spirit was flagging under the weight of expectations he never asked to carry. The emotional cost of fame is a debt that eventually comes due, and for Allen, the interest was being paid in sleepless nights and a growing sense of disconnection. He was living the dream of millions, yet he was trapped in a golden cage where every move was choreographed and every word was scripted for the benefit of the cameras. This is the part of the story that resonates most with the U.S. obsession with the price of fame. We see the exhaustion behind the smile, the loneliness in a room full of people, and the realization that he had become a prisoner of his own success. The peak of his career was also the edge of a precipice, and while the world saw a man who had everything, he was feeling the walls close in on him. The golden cage was beautiful to look at from the outside, but inside, the air was running out. He was an asset to be managed, a product to be sold, and a human being who was slowly losing his way in the glare of the lights. Behind the closed doors of the elite social circles in Beijing, whispers began to circulate about a star who was starting to fray at the very edges of his sanity. Rumors of internal conflicts with his management and the heavy toll of his workload began to leak into the digital ether, creating a sense of impending dread. Public appearances that were once filled with his signature gentle smile now felt forced, as if he were a man wearing a mask that no longer fit his face. There were hints of tension, brief moments where the porcelain perfection cracked just enough to reveal the exhaustion and the vulnerability beneath the surface. Fans began to notice the subtle changes in his social media presence, a shift in tone that suggested a longing for a life away from the relentless scrutiny. The cracks were small at first, but in the high-stakes world of global entertainment, even the smallest fracture can lead to a total collapse if left ignored by those in power. This section of the narrative builds the suspense, showing the warning signs that the public missed until it was too late. For a U.S. audience, this mirrors the tragic arcs of icons like Monroe or Michael Jackson, the moments where the public sees the pain but chooses to keep cheering. We explore the Whisper campaign and the online speculation that created a toxic environment for a man who just wanted to be seen for who he really was. The tension was building, a silent storm that was about to break over the city, and Allen was standing right in its path, unprotected and alone in the center of the dark. Then, the unthinkable happened in a single, staggering moment that would leave the entire entertainment world paralyzed with shock and a deep sense of loss. On a night that started with a private gathering of friends, a sequence of events unfolded that would end in a tragedy no one saw coming. The reports describe a man who retreated into a room to seek rest, only to be found hours later in the cold embrace of the pavement far below. The media frenzy that followed was instantaneous and brutal, with cameras descending on the scene like vultures looking for a piece of a shattered legacy. It was a scandal that wasn't born of malice, but of a devastating accident that felt too surreal to be true for those who loved him. The news broke the internet, triggering an emotional breakdown for a global that had looked to him as a source of light and inspiration in their own lives. This is the climax of the tragedy, the moment of impact that changed the narrative forever. We describe the chaos of the night, the confusion of the early reports, and the visceral shock of the world realizing their immortal hero was mortal after all. The fall wasn't just physical, it was the collapse of a myth, the end of a fairy tale that had been carefully constructed for over a decade. The tragedy was compounded by the speed at which it happened. One minute he was there, and the next, he was a headline. The night of September 11 became a marker in time, a before and after for anyone who had ever been moved by his work or his presence on the screen and in the world. In the wake of the tragedy, An eerie silence descended over the industry as the machine that created him struggled to explain how it had failed to protect him. The usual flow of promotional content was replaced by black squares and grieving tributes, while fans were left wandering through a wasteland of unanswered questions. Mental health became the centerpiece of the conversation, as speculation ran wild about what truly happened in those final, lonely hours before the fall. The media narrative became distorted, with tabloids spinning theories that only added to the pain of a family and a community already drowning in their collective sorrow. This wasn't a temporary hiatus or a break from the spotlight. It was a permanent disappearance that left a void in the heart of the C-drama world. The silence was louder than any applause he had ever received, a haunting reminder of the fragility of life, even at its most seemingly successful and vibrant. For the U.S. target audience, this is the aftermath phase, where we look at the grieving process and the way fans across the Atlantic reacted to the news. We see the candlelight vigils, the digital memorials, and the profound sense of loss that transcended language and borders. The silence wasn't just the absence of his voice. It was the sound of a world trying to process a loss that didn't make sense. The industry tried to move on, but the shadow of Alan remained, a permanent fixture in the collective memory of a generation that had grown up with him as their North Star. Years later, as the dust began to settle, hidden details and leaked information started to paint a far more complex picture of the forces that led to that night. It wasn't just a simple accident. It was a symptom of a systemic failure that prioritized profit over the well-being of the human beings behind the characters. Inside sources began to speak out about the true nature of the pressures he faced and the lack of support provided to those who carry the weight of an entire industry. This wasn't just about one man's fall. It was a revelation that changed how the world viewed the idol system and the cost of the entertainment we consume. The truth brought a sense of redemption to his image, shifting the blame from his own actions to the environment that had boxed him in for so long. The mysterious circumstances began to make sense when viewed through the lens of a man who was simply exhausted from being a god. This twist is essential for the documentary format, providing the investigative element that Western audiences crave. We look at the corporate fallout, the resignations of top executives, and the way the industry was forced to reckon with its own dark side. The truth was more heartbreaking than the rumors. It was a story of a man who was loved by everyone but cared for by no one. The redemption wasn't for him, as he needed none, but for the narrative of his life, which was finally being told with the nuance and the empathy it deserved from the very beginning of his journey. From the ashes of the tragedy, a new movement began to emerge, one that sought to honor Alan not just as a star, but as a catalyst for change. His story became a rallying cry for better treatment of artists and a more transparent approach to the mental health of those in the public eye. Though he was no longer there to lead it, his presence was felt in every new policy and every conversation about the ethics of fame in the modern world. His past projects took on a new, bittersweet meaning, as fans revisited his work with a deeper understanding of the soul he poured into every role. He was reinvented not as a victim, but as a pioneer whose journey forced a global audience to look at the human cost of their entertainment. His worldview, once hidden behind a wall of PR, was finally understood through the legacy he left behind, a legacy of grace, resilience, and a desperate plea for humanity. In this section, we show the positive impact of his life, the way his reinvention happened through the lives of others. For the American viewer, this is the legacy chapter, where we see how his story inspired a new generation of creators to prioritize their health over their hits. He didn't just leave behind a filmography, he left behind a movement. The ashes of his fall became the foundation for a more compassionate industry, ensuring that his life, while tragically short, was profoundly meaningful. He became a symbol of a new era, a star whose light continues to shine through the changes he inadvertently sparked in the world. In the final analysis, Alan's story wasn't just about the heights of fame or the tragedy of a fall. It was about the universal struggle of surviving it. He was a man who spent his career playing characters who lived forever, only to remind us all of the profound and beautiful fragility of being human. His journey teaches us that the spotlight is a fire that can illuminate a path, but it can also consume the one who stands within its center. As we look back on the images of him in his flowing white robes, we no longer see an untouchable deity, but a brother, a son, and a dreamer who gave everything to his craft. The soft, thoughtful closing words of his story are written in the hearts of those he inspired to be kinder and more mindful of the shadows behind the light. He is finally free from the expectations, finally at peace, leaving behind a world that is forever changed by the short time he spent within it. This conclusion ties the emotional threads together, offering a reflective and humanistic end to a dramatic journey. For the U.S. audience, it provides closure and a takeaway lesson about the value of empathy. We end on a shot of his smile, not the forced smile of a superstar, but the genuine one of the boy from Xinjiang who just wanted to dream. He was the immortal who taught us how to be human, and though he is gone, his story remains a powerful reminder that the greatest role any of us can play is simply ourselves. Rest in peace, Alan. Your light may have dimmed on Earth, but you are finally, truly immortal in the stars.
Leave a light on every night, still hoping you might walk by. This quiet home feels too alive, like memories dancing in the light. There's something I'm not ready for. Your name still lingers in the air, like perfume left behind somewhere. Do you miss me too? When the silence starts to burn, can you feel me near? When your thoughts begin to turn, I've been waiting, barely breathing in the space you used to fill. If you feel me like I feel you, then this heart is beating still. Each little sound still feels like you. The floor remembers every move. Walk through rooms we once knew well, but every step just pulls me through the part of me that won't let go. Your name still lingers in the air, like perfume left behind somewhere. Do you miss me too? When the silence starts to burn, can you feel me near? When your thoughts begin to turn, I've been waiting, barely breathing in the space you used to fill. If you feel me like I feel you, then this heart is beating still. Maybe love just learns to wait behind the doors we never faced. If you feel me late at night, that's my heart still holding tight. Do you miss me too? When the silence starts to burn, can you feel me near? this heart is beating still.